Let me tell you about a man who knew that the man who is not afraid to lose what he cannot keep will gain what he could not otherwise have. Lao Tzu. Chapter 1. The Invisible Leash. Invisible leashes. Are your friends truly your allies? Or are their soft words the chains that bind you, keeping you from true power? Understood centuries ago, even familiar. This is a lie. As Niccolo Machiavelli understood centuries ago, even familiar faces mask benevolence while pulling unseen strings. You believe you're free, but invisible chains bind you, subtle leashes tugging at ambition, holding you from what you could truly become. These aren't overt threats. They are whispers of caution, reminders of your past, gentle suggestions. They lock you in familiar patterns. They don't want your failure. They want you to stay where you are, comfortable, predictable. Your growth exposes their stagnation. Your ascent casts a harsh light on their choices, and few tolerate that discomfort. Think about moments you considered a big move, a new city, a radical career, a risky dream. Remember the immediate pushback. Are you sure that's wise? What about us? Don't forget where you came from. These aren't questions, they are anchors. They aren't sharing concern. They are testing your resolve, measuring the give in your invisible leash. One deadliest lie, the weight of shared history. They remind you of old days, good times. We've always done it this way. Nostalgia becomes a weapon, an emotional cage from past experiences. Because you were X with them then, you must remain X now. Any deviation is seen as betrayal. You make choices not for your future, but for their expectations. You shrink ambitions to fit their comfort. You second-guess instincts. Their doubt sounds like wisdom. Nothing leaks, nothing drains, everything compounds. Your potential chokes like a plant starved of light. They don't often act from malice. It's a subtle game of social equilibrium. Your success, your transformation, threatens the group's established order. It makes them question their own limits. So, they maintain the status quo by subtly undermining your aspirations, keeping you aligned with their reality. Marcus Aurelius, 2 millennia ago, wrote about distinguishing what is truly within your control. What he understood is that your inner citadel, your thoughts, your choices, is sovereign. Allowing others to dictate your path, to define your true self based on their comfort, is surrendering this sacred territory. This surrender comes quietly, not a dramatic choice, but 1,000 tiny concessions. You start to believe their version of your limits, their assessment of your capabilities. You internalize their fear of change. The invisible leash becomes part of your own perception. You only notice the boundaries it imposes. To break these chains, acknowledge they exist. Recognize specific phrases, familiar reactions, subtle manipulations that box you in. When they say, "You're changing," they mean, "You're leaving our gravity well." When they say, "Be realistic," they tell you to lower your sights to match theirs. The first step to cutting this invisible leash is brutal self-honesty. Separate their narrative about you from your own truth. Decide if you are willing to make others uncomfortable for your own expansion. This isn't abandoning them. It's reclaiming yourself. It's choosing your own trajectory. But recognizing the leash is only one battle. There's another, more insidious weapon they wield, hidden not in words, but in your own sense of obligation. What is it, and how does it drain your power without you ever realizing it? Chapter 2. The Capped Potential. Capped potential, a subtle prison, built not of malice, but their own fear. They'll tell you it's for your protection, but it's their own anxieties they guard. The second lie they feed you is capped potential. This isn't sabotage. It's a soft, comfortable cage built from their anxieties. They don't want you to fail, but more, they don't want you to succeed beyond them. Your ambition exposes their stagnation, a deeply uncomfortable reflection. This lie masquerades as care, as realism. Don't get ahead of yourself, they'll say. Be realistic. They remind you of past failures or the path's difficulty, always under the guise of protection. Every big goal you outline, they flood your path with subtle doubts, fear-mongering disguised as wisdom. Think about sharing a bold aspiration. Did you sense familiar caution, the immediate shift to problem-finding? They point out every obstacle, every reason it's too hard, too risky, nudging you back into their mediocrity. This is self-preservation, a silent plea to remain within their comfort zone. Here's how you break free. Do not announce grand plans. Do not seek their validation. Vocalizing profound ambition invites external judgment and, crucially, gives them a chance to plant seeds of doubt. These grow into crippling self-doubt, halting progress. If you loudly declare an empire, people will wait for you to stumble. They will watch, ready to offer condolences and their "I told you so." But if you quietly build brick by brick, there's nothing to criticize until success is undeniable. Friedrich Nietzsche understood the herd despises the one who goes beyond, creating their own values. He knew that envy, disguised as concern, is a powerful leash, tying you to the mediocrity they embody. Your aspiration, your drive, it shines a light on their own lack of movement, and that light is uncomfortable, so they dim it. They don't want you to fail. They want you to stay exactly where you are, right beside them. This brings us to the second subtle lie, the weaponization of your past. Think about it. Every time you propose a new venture, express a grand idea, or even suggest a significant life change, watch their immediate reaction. They don't just doubt, they remind. They dredge up old mistakes. Remember that time you tried X and it didn't work out? Are you sure you want to risk this after what happened with Y? They pull from your personal history, not to protect you from genuine danger, but to keep you contained. They use your past self as a prison for your future self. When they bring up your failures, they are not offering wisdom. They are projecting their own fear. They are afraid of what your success might mean for them. A change in the pecking order, a shift in dynamics, an uncomfortable mirror held up to their own inaction. They are afraid of losing you, not to failure, but to success that takes you beyond their world. They want you grounded, familiar, predictable. Here's how you neutralize this weapon. You acknowledge the past, but you do not dwell there. You do not argue with their selective memory. You simply pivot. That was then. This is now. Your plans are not up for debate. Your future is not subject to their historical review. You learn from your own mistakes, not from their interpretations of them. Their aim is to make you question your competence, to erode your self-trust. Do not give them that power. If you allow their past-focused narratives to define your present choices, you become a prisoner of their limited vision. You become a character in their story, not the architect of your own. But if you quietly absorb lessons and move forward, their attempts to anchor you to old missteps become meaningless. You detach your ambition from their approval. You disconnect your future from their historical record. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, understood this profound truth about inner strength. He wrote that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, not on the opinions of others or the ghosts of old experiences. What he understood is that your inner citadel, your core self, must be guarded fiercely against external invasion, whether it comes from open enemies or disguised friends. The past is a lesson, never a life sentence. But there's another subtle trap, one that masquerades as support. It's the lie of the realistic expectation. What is it? Chapter 3, The Comfort Trap. Realistic expectations? A comforting lie. Your friends, with their quiet sabotage, will try to clip your wings. Understand this, their fear of your ambition. The lie of realistic expectation isn't about setting achievable goals. It's about your friends, subtly or not so subtly, cutting your wings before you even learn to fly. They want you safe, predictable, and most importantly, with them, trapped in the same comfort. This isn't support. It's a quiet form of sabotage disguised as concern. Your ambition threatens their comfort. It exposes their own lack of movement, their own fear of the unknown. They project their anxieties onto your aspirations, whispering doubt dressed as wisdom. They fear your progress will leave them behind, shining a harsh light on their stagnation. This dynamic keeps you shackled to mediocrity. Think about the times you've tried to break a cycle, to elevate your life. Maybe you wanted to start a demanding new venture, commit to a difficult skill, or simply change your routine radically. What did you hear from your inner circle? Are you sure that's realistic? Don't push yourself too hard. Just relax. We're having fun here. Here's how you navigate this silent resistance. You learn to filter these voices, to recognize the underlying fear they carry. You understand their discomfort is a projection, not an accurate assessment of your potential or your path. You detach from the desperate need for their approval, their validation, their comfortable cage. If you announce your bold plans to these friends, they will flood you with reasons why it won't work, why you're being naive. They will present every potential pitfall, every past failure, every comfortable excuse. They will drag you down with their doubts, using your loyalty as a tether. This is how many great ambitions die, suffocated by well-meaning but destructive voices. But if you quietly execute, if you build in the shadows, there's nothing for them to tear down. They can't stop what they don't know is happening, what they can't see. You simply present the finished product, the undeniable reality of your progress, leaving them with nothing to say but empty congratulations. This silent cultivation protects your energy and your focus. Socrates, the ancient Athenian philosopher, argued that the unexamined life is not worth living. What he understood is that true growth demands self-reflection and a fierce willingness to challenge the status quo. It means stepping away from familiar opinions and the comfortable consensus of those around you to forge your own path of discovery and actualization. Your personal evolution is a solo journey, even if you draw inspiration from others. No one else can define your potential. No one else can decide what you are truly capable of achieving or how much you should strive for. Their comfort is their problem, not your boundary. Confucius, the great Chinese thinker, taught that by 3 methods we may learn wisdom. First, by reflection, which is noblest. Second, by imitation, which is easiest, and third by experience, which is the bitterest. He wasn't suggesting you settle for the easiest path dictated by others' fears. He urged you to seek true wisdom through your own journey, through deliberate thought and the hard lessons of doing. Your path to growth will always make some people uncomfortable. It's an unavoidable side effect of personal power. They will try to pull you back into their familiar orbit, into the gravity of their own stagnation. They will use your shared history, your loyalty, your desire for belonging, against your innate drive to evolve beyond your current state. This is not genuine friendship. It is a leash disguised by affection. Chapter 4, The Debt Collector. Obligation, a gilded cage. They whisper of gratitude, but truly, they demand interest. Learn to see the strings before they bind your every move. That leash you feel, disguised by affection, is often woven from a debt they constantly remind you of. This is the third lie, the debt collector. They don't just ask for favors. They collect on an invisible ledger of past kindnesses, real or imagined, to control your present and future choices. You owe them. This is the insidious narrative they build around you, brick by brick, until you feel trapped by obligation. It drains your autonomy. Every time you try to chart a new course, every time you prioritize your own growth, they present the bill. They make you feel guilty for simply existing beyond their expectations, for not being the person they remember or need. Your energy, your time, your resources become collateral for a loan you didn't consciously sign up for. Watch what happens when you attempt to distance yourself to build boundaries. After everything I've done for you, they begin, their voice dripping with manufactured betrayal. Remember when I helped you move? Remember that time I lent you money? And now you can't even. The accusation hangs heavy, designed to short-circuit your resolve, to pull you back into compliance. Sigmund Freud understood how the echoes of our past, the unresolved currents beneath the surface, can dictate our present actions and feelings. What he understood is that this emotional burden, this weaponized history, is designed to tap into your unconscious guilt, your natural human desire to reciprocate. They don't just recall history, they weaponize your innate sense of fairness against you. Here's how you dismantle this. First, recognize the pattern. The moment they shift from a direct request to a historical reference, they are no longer operating in good faith. They are not asking, they are demanding payment for a debt you never agreed upon. It is a tactical move designed to remove your power to say no. Separate the past from the present. The favor they did 5 years ago has no bearing on a request today, unless it was an explicit transactional agreement. Their past generosity does not grant them indefinite claims on your future. Treat each request as new, evaluated on its own merit, without the weight of an invisible ledger. If you try to explain, to justify your refusal by recounting your current priorities, you validate their premise, you acknowledge their imaginary debt, you hand them the emotional ammunition they need to escalate their claims, to paint you as ungrateful, disloyal, a traitor to your shared past. They will then use your explanation as further proof of your perceived wrongdoing. But if you quietly refuse, clearly and without apology, there is nothing for them to negotiate with. Your no is not a personal attack. It is a statement of your present capacity and boundaries. I cannot do that. That does not work for me right now. These are complete sentences. They require no explanation, no justification, no reference to any supposed past obligation. Julius Caesar, a master of loyalty and command, knew that allegiances were maintained through present utility and future promise, not solely through past deeds. He understood that a leader, or indeed any individual, cannot be held hostage by the ghosts of old agreements if they wish to advance. Those who cling to outdated claims become obstacles, eventually to be discarded for the greater strategic good. When you refuse to pay their invisible debt, they lose their primary leverage over you. They will lash out. They will accuse you of betrayal, of forgetting where you came from. Let them. Their anger is merely the frustration of a manipulator whose tactics have failed. Chapter 5. The Loyalty Test. Their fury, a broken chain. But beware, they have other snares. They will construct a test, not of your devotion, but of your obedience. When you refuse to pay their invisible debt, they lose their primary leverage over you. They will lash out. They will accuse you of betrayal, of forgetting where you came from. Let them. Their anger is merely the frustration of a manipulator whose tactics have failed. This leads us to another insidious trap, one they set with your own good intentions: the loyalty test. This test is not about your faithfulness to them. It is about their control over you. It's a psychological fence they build to keep you within their boundaries, punishing any move you make that threatens their sense of ownership. They want you to stay small, stay predictable, stay theirs. Think about the moment you tried to elevate yourself. Maybe you started a new venture, formed a different connection, or simply changed your habits. Did you feel a subtle shift in their behavior? A questioning glance, a sarcastic remark, a sudden demand on your time designed to pull you back into the familiar. This is them enforcing the unspoken rules. They will frame your ambition as a betrayal of the past, as if your growth implies you are too good for them now. They might say, "You've changed," or "Remember where you came from," weaponizing shared history against your future. This is not concern. It is a thinly veiled threat designed to make you feel guilty for evolving beyond their stagnant comfort zone. What they want is your conformity. They demand you align with their values, their opinions, their limited scope of ambition. Anything outside that collective mindset is seen as a threat to the group identity. and by extension, a threat to their individual comfort within that group. Carl Jung understood that true individuation often means separating from the collective conscious. He saw how the individual must differentiate themselves from the group to discover their authentic self, a process often met with resistance from those who prefer the comfort of conformity. What he understood is that your liberation is a direct challenge to their stagnation. Here's how you disarm this loyalty test. Do not explain yourself. Do not seek their permission or approval. Your choices are your own, and do not require their endorsement. When they push, you simply state your position without justification. This is what I am doing. The less you give them to argue with, the less power they have. If you announce your new path with fanfare, they will have ammunition to question and undermine you from the start. They will dissect your motives, pick apart your plans, and infuse doubt into your confidence. They want to be the first to poke holes in your new ship before it even leaves the harbor. But if you quietly build your new reality, step by step, without consulting the peanut gallery, there is nothing for them to attack. When the results speak for themselves, their accusations of disloyalty look petty and irrelevant. They are left with only their own projections. Aristotle, when discussing friendship, categorized true friendship as based on virtue, where each seeks the good of the other. He understood that manipulative bonds, based on utility or pleasure, are fragile and dissolve when one party no longer serves the other's selfish needs. This loyalty they demand is often the lowest form of utility. Their loyalty test is not about protecting you, it's about protecting their grip on you. Refuse to be caged by their insecurity. But there's another lie they tell, one that exploits your deepest need for validation, making you believe their approval is essential for your worth. What is it? Chapter 6, The Altered Self. You've changed. A familiar accusation, weaponizing your evolution. We dissect this subtle assault and how to wield it for your own ascent. It is the whisper that seeks to drag you back into the shadows they inhabit. The accusation, you've changed. They weaponize your evolution, turning your growth into a betrayal. This isn't a compliment. It's a desperate attempt to reset your boundaries, to re-establish the old controls you outgrew. They want the version of you that was predictable, pliable, and always within their reach. This attack is designed to create internal conflict, making you doubt the very progress you've made. They will say you've become different, cold, or too focused on yourself because the new you no longer fits their comfort zone. They prefer the old you, the one who sought their approval, the one whose insecurities match their own. Your rise exposes their stagnation. Think about the times you've started a new habit, pursued a challenging goal, or simply refined your daily routine. The moment you show tangible results, the moment you shed old habits and embrace discipline, they will emerge. They'll offer subtle jabs, veiled concerns, or outright criticism, all aimed at making you question your new direction and retreat to your former self. Centuries ago, Plato explored the shadows on the cave wall, how prisoners might resent one who has seen the sun and returned to tell them of a truer reality. What he understood is that when you ascend, when you glimpse a brighter truth, those still chained in the darkness will find your new perspective threatening. They will call your enlightenment a delusion, your progress a flaw, because it challenges their entire worldview. Here's how you disarm this. Understand that "you've changed" is not an observation, but a command to revert. It is a projection of their fear onto your growth. They are not concerned for your well-being. They are concerned about losing their grip on your availability, your energy, and your attention. They see you pulling away, becoming self-sufficient, and that scares them more than anything. If you announce your intentions, if you proudly declare your new path, you give them a target. You invite their resistance, their doubts, their subtle sabotage. They will chip away at your resolve, planting seeds of uncertainty, making you believe that your ambition isolates you, that your discipline makes you less human. The ancient wisdom of Lao Tzu teaches that when you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everyone will respect you. Your evolution is not for their consumption or approval. It is your journey, a quiet transformation of the self, like water wearing down stone without a single word of complaint or boast. They fear this silent strength because it means you no longer need their familiar, limited world. But if you quietly execute your transformation, if you simply become the new version of yourself without explanation, there is nothing for them to fight against. You present them with a new reality, a fait accompli. Their accusations of change fall flat because your reality is already established, your new habits are already ingrained, and your focus is unshaken. The dark strategy here is not to argue, not to defend your choices, but to simply proceed. Let your actions speak. Let your results create an undeniable truth. Their attempts to pull you back are only effective if you allow their words to penetrate your resolve, if you give their fear a seat at your decision-making table. They will try to remind you of who you used to be, of the shared past that binds you. They do this to trigger nostalgia, to make you miss the comfort of mediocrity, the ease of conformity. Chapter 7. The Threat of Solitude. The serpent's hiss, solitude. They dangle the threat of your own company like a hangman's noose. Understand this. They fear your freedom more than you fear being alone. But there is a final, darker lie they will tell you, one whispered. Not in words, but in actions. The threat of solitude. This is the ultimate weapon wielded by those who fear your growth. A cold promise of exclusion if you dare to step beyond their shadow. This lie destroys you by weaponizing your primal fear of being alone, of being cast out from the tribe. Humans are social creatures, wired to seek connection, and your friends exploit this deep-seated need. They know that if they can convince you that pursuing your own path means isolation, means losing the only community you have, then you will self-correct. You will return to the familiar, confining pen they have built for you. Think about what happens when you start to pull away, to invest more time in yourself, your ambitions, or new ventures that don't include them. The invitations slowly cease. The inside jokes become more frequent when you are present, subtly reminding you that you are an outsider. Conversations shift to topics you are not privy to, conversations they deliberately kept you out of, creating a wall of shared experience that excludes you. They don't need to explicitly tell you that you're being abandoned. The chill in their interactions, the sudden bussiness when you suggest something new, the collective silence when you share a triumph they can't claim as their own, these are all signals. They are conditioning you to associate independence with rejection, to feel the pain of being sidelined, forcing you to choose between your path and their manufactured sense of belonging. The insidious lie here is that solitude is a punishment, a sign of failure, something to be avoided at all costs. They project their own fear of being alone onto you, manipulating you into believing that true strength lies in never standing apart. What they don't understand, or refuse to acknowledge, is that profound growth often demands a period of intentional separation. Seneca, the Roman philosopher, understood this deeply when he wrote about the importance of self-sufficiency, suggesting that a man who fears death will never do anything worthy of a living man, and by extension, a man who fears solitude will never truly know himself or achieve his potential. He recognized that true freedom comes from within, not from external validation or constant company. Here's how you turn this lie into your strength. Embrace solitude, not as a sentence, but as a strategic advantage, a forge for your resolve. See their attempts at exclusion, not as rejection, but as a necessary culling, clearing away the deadwood to make space for genuine connections and deeper self-discovery. When they try to freeze you out, when they try to make you feel like an outsider, do not chase their approval. Do not beg for re-entry into their limited world. Instead, lean into the quiet. Use that time to build, to plan, to strengthen your foundation, unseen and undisturbed. Your actions in solitude will speak louder than any words or threats they can conjure. If you cling desperately to the fading warmth of their approval, you remain trapped in their limiting orbit, forever bound by their expectations and fears. But if you step bravely into the quiet space they tried to create as a punishment, you discover a profound freedom. You realize that the only person you truly need for your journey is yourself, fully present and undiluted. Winston Churchill, a man who often stood alone against the prevailing tide, famously declared, "Never give in." Chapter 8, The Shared Secret. Shared secrets, a dangerous exchange. They feel like bonding, but reveal your internal world. Every confession is data. Every time you open up, he understood an unbroken will must be shielded from external assault. But what if the assault is insidious, disguised as intimacy? This is the trap of the shared secret, a confession feeling like bonding, but often an unequal exchange. Albert Einstein, a mind known for stripping away illusion, noted, "The only source of knowledge is experience." What he understood is, your vulnerabilities are data points intelligence for anyone mapping your internal world. They don't just want your weaknesses, they map your trigger points, your deepest fears, your secret aspirations. Every time you open up, confessing a doubt or a dream, you hand them a piece of your puzzle. This isn't genuine connection for them. It's data collection, cataloging vulnerabilities to understand precise levers for influencing your choices later. This intel gives them unseen advantage. They learn your boundaries, seeing where you bend or break, what you truly value. They use this to subtly steer decisions, framing advice to hit your fears, or undermining confidence when you stray from their path. It's quiet control, built on the very trust you offered. Think about confiding a deep insecurity to a friend, feeling relieved, believing you built connection. Watch what happens when that friend later uses that exact insecurity casually, nudging you toward a choice benefiting them. They might call your new venture risky, knowing you fear failure, or highlight stability of your current situation because they need you close. Here's how they operate. They initiate sharing, offering a small controlled vulnerability with no real risk. This creates false reciprocal intimacy, compelling you to reciprocate, to go deeper. They make you feel special, part of an exclusive circle, when you're just a target for their data mining operation. They listen. They ask probing questions disguised as concern, remembering every detail, every casual complaint, every fleeting doubt. They don't forget your past failures or unspoken anxieties. This isn't empathy, it's intelligence gathering. This information becomes a quiet arsenal, waiting for the opportune moment to influence your behavior. Leonardo da Vinci, the master observer, understood the profound power of seeing things as they truly are, beyond the surface. He dissected and documented hidden mechanisms. While his pursuit was knowledge, theirs is control. They study you with similar analytical detachment, not to create, but to manipulate, learning your inner workings from a calculated desire to understand every moving part. If you openly declare grand ambitions and deepest fears to these friends, you arm them. You give them a map to your psychological territory. They will subtly discourage you, referencing past doubts, or wait for your first stumble, ready to remind you of confided insecurities. They prefer you stay predictable and manageable within their shadow. But if you cultivate plans in silence, keeping vulnerabilities close, there's nothing for them to undermine. No soft underbelly to expose. When you move quietly, building strength away from their prying eyes, your success comes as a surprise. It leaves them with no intel, no leverage, only the stark reality of your progress. Your silence is your shield, your discretion, your power. Oversharing creates emotional debt. You feel obligated because they know your secrets. This imagined debt binds you, making you less likely to assert yourself, less likely to question their motives. You become trapped in a web of control, spun from your own confessions. Break the habit of emotional exhibitionism. Guard your inner world. Chapter 9. The Envious Gaze. Beware the serpent, not in your enemy's camp, but coiled within your own trusted circle. This is about the envious gaze and how it seeks to diminish you. But guarding your inner world means more than just keeping secrets. It means recognizing the envious gaze, the subtle, insidious way certain friends will try to cut you down to size. They don't want you to fail, but they definitely don't want you to succeed too much, especially if it outshines them. This isn't about hate, it's about their own insecurity projected onto your ambition. This quiet envy is a slow poison. It leeches your confidence. It drains your drive. It makes you question every step forward. When you share a victory, no matter how small, they respond with a backhanded compliment, a cautionary tale, or a swift change of topic. They are not celebrating with you. They are calculating how your win affects their own position. Think about it. You land that new client, secure the promotion, or finish a major project. You tell a friend, expecting shared excitement. What do you get? Don't get too ahead of yourself, or remember, pride comes before a fall, or that's great, but you know how fickle things can be. They aren't offering wisdom. They are actively trying to keep you humble, which is their code for keeping you below them, or at least at their level. Here's how you deal with this. Starve their envy. Do not feed it with your successes. Do not give them ammunition to fire back at your dreams. Your ambitions are not a communal campfire to be shared with everyone. They are a private forge where you craft your future. Let your results speak for themselves long after their doubts have faded. If you announce every win, every new opportunity, you invite their scrutiny, their skepticism, their quiet sabotage. But if you quietly build, if you let your achievements emerge fully formed and undeniable, there's nothing for them to tear down. There's no space for their humble advice or their veiled warnings. Your success becomes an established fact, not an aspiration they can undermine. Abraham Lincoln understood that the clamor of critics and the whispers of doubt mean nothing if you stay true to your path and deliver results. He knew that the only real judge of your work is the outcome itself, not the fleeting opinions of those on the sidelines. He advised focusing on the work, doing the best you can, and letting the results speak for themselves, rendering all criticism irrelevant in the end. Identify these friends, categorize them. They are not malicious, but they are dangerous to your forward momentum. They are the ones who always find a reason to caution, to downplay, to bring you back to earth, but never to truly lift you up. Observe their behavior when others succeed. Watch their eyes, their subtle shifts, their immediate need to shift focus away from genuine praise. Theodore Roosevelt knew it's not the critic who matters, but the one in the arena. He understood that those who sit on the sidelines pointing out flaws and offering unsolicited caution achieve nothing. True worth belongs to the one, risking it all, whose face is marred by the struggle, not those who merely observe and judge from a safe distance. Do not allow these people to define your ceiling. Do not let their projections become your reality. Keep them at an emotional distance, sharing only what is absolutely necessary, and always, always keep your grandest visions close to your chest. Let them wonder, let them guess, let them be surprised by your inevitable rise. There is another insidious trap, one that masquerades as support, but is actually a drain on your vital energy. It's the constant need for validation, the hunger for approval that leaves you vulnerable to manipulation. What is it? Chapter 10, The Silent Retreat. Their silent disapproval, a powerful weapon. Learn how to break free from their invisible chains and reclaim the only true measure of your worth, your own unwavering will. That hunger for approval, the constant need for someone else to stamp your decisions as valid. That's the first lie they use to control you. It is not support, it is a leash. Every time you seek their nod, you hand over a piece of your power. You become predictable, a puppet waiting for direction, and they know it. This constant craving for external validation slowly hollows you out, replacing your inner compass with their shifting opinions. Your conviction weakens, your unique vision blurs. You begin to make choices, not from strength, but from a desperate need to avoid their subtle disapproval, sacrificing your true path for the illusion of belonging. Watch what happens when you propose a bold new direction for your life. If you preface it with, "Do you think this is a good idea?" or what do you guys think? You have already lost. They will pick it apart, not because it is bad, but because you're seeking approval, invites them to find flaws, to reassert their perceived authority over your choices. The counter is simple, the silent retreat. Make your decisions, execute your plans, announce nothing until it is done, or at least irreversible. Fools broadcast their intentions, inviting debate and doubt, opening themselves up to every form of sabotage. Wise players work in the dark, revealing only results. There is nothing for them to object to, no vulnerable point for them to exploit when the deed is already complete. Your autonomy remains intact, your energy remains focused. Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary swordsman, lived by a simple code: do nothing which is of no use. Seeking external validation is often useless, a drain on your mental energy that produces no tangible result except increased dependency. But the approval trap is not the only subtle tether. There is another manipulation, more insidious, disguised as friendship itself. This is the lie of constant accessibility, the demand for your perpetual presence. Your friends, often without malicious intent, become energy vampires, draining your most precious resource, your time. They expect you to be available, to listen to their problems, to join every impromptu gathering, to be their emotional support on demand. Each demand, each just 5 minutes, chips away at your focus, delays your own work, and ultimately suffocates your personal ambition. Your life becomes an endless series of reactions to their needs, never proactively building your own empire. You are finally focused on a crucial project, deep in your flow state. The phone buzzes. A friend needs to vent or wants you to come out just for a bit. You feel obligated. You break your concentration. Your momentum dies, and rebuilding it costs more than just those 5 minutes. This cycle repeats, leaving your own goals neglected. Your defense against this is clear. Establish invisible walls. Respond slowly. Be busy with vague, non-negotiable commitments. You do not need to lie. You simply do not need to over-explain. Your time is yours, not a communal resource to be plundered at will. The weak try to explain why they cannot, often feeling guilty, offering up details that can be argued against. The strong simply state their unavailability, offer no excuses, and let the other person adapt. No explanation, no debate. Mahatma Gandhi, a master of principled resistance, knew the power of a firm boundary. He famously stated, "A no, uttered from the deepest conviction, is better than a yes, merely uttered to please, or worse, to avoid trouble." This is not about conflict. It is about holding your ground, silently, respectfully, without inviting debate. Protect your focus, protect your time. Chapter 11, The Self-Sovereign. The self-sovereign, a potent myth. Yet your liberation, your true power, lies precisely in its embrace. We must now understand who truly fears your reign. Your energy, your time, your decisions. These are not communal resources. They are the foundations of your power. Any erosion, no matter how small, is a direct attack on your potential. This continuous give and take they demand is a slow bleed, designed to keep you tethered, unable to break free. The friends who tell you these lies want control. They want predictability. They want the comfort of knowing you are still within their grasp, a known quantity. Your growth, your radical independence, threatens their delicate ecosystem of influence. They may not be malicious, but their self-interest demands you stay small. How often have you altered your path or explained choices simply to appease unspoken expectations? Every bend, every justification concedes autonomy. These concessions form invisible chains, binding you to a life not entirely yours. You become a reflection of their desires, not a sovereign entity. Your ambition demands isolation, not in the sense of being alone, but being undiluted. It requires a singularity of purpose that cannot tolerate constant negotiation. To build something significant, you must first secure your ground, your mind, your time, your future. Napoleon Bonaparte, who understood the weight of command, said, "Nothing is more difficult, and therefore more precious, than to be able to decide." He knew true power stems from an unshakable inner compass, unswayed by external pressures. Your ability to make hard choices and stand by them is ultimate sovereignty. The self-sovereign individual operates from a different plane. They do not seek validation. They simply execute. They do not explain absences. They manage presence. Their actions speak. Their results define them. The noise of others' expectations fades into an irrelevant hum. This is tactical necessity. Watch what happens when you enact this principle. Casual demands will lessen. Guilt trips lose potency. Those who truly value you will adapt. Those who sought control will resent your independence or drift away. This separation is not a loss. It is a vital refinement. Nelson Mandela, isolated for decades yet unbroken, declared, "May your choices reflect your hopes, not your fears." He understood, the greatest prison is built by your fear of disappointing others, your fear of standing alone. To choose your hopes is to liberate yourself from subtle tyranny. This isn't about severing ties, it's redefining engagement. Set an unbreakable boundary around your core energy, strategic time, and ultimate vision. You are not obligated to be perpetually available to justify your growth or dilute your ambition. Your path is your own. Every lie exposed, every manipulation brought to light culminates here. This is a call to arms for your mind, a relentless defense of your personal frontier. Your silence becomes your shield. Your actions becomes your shield. Your actions become your statement. Your unwavering focus is the ultimate weapon. You are the sole architect of your future. Your choices are final. Your will is absolute. Guard your sovereignty with cold, unwavering precision. Do not explain. Do not apologize. Simply build.